She called me her best friend after 3 days, moved to my neighborhood after 3 weeks, and by the third month I realized I wasn't in a friendship. I was trapped in someone else's obsession. Lisa had always been the kind of person who liked her Saturday mornings quiet and predictable. Every weekend she would walk to the same corner bookstore, order the same coffee, and sit at the same small table by the window. It was her time to breathe, to read, and to simply exist without the noise of her busy week pressing down on her shoulders. That particular morning started like any other. The autumn sun was filtering through the bookstore's large windows, casting warm patches of light across the wooden floors. Lisa had just opened her new mystery novel when she heard footsteps approaching her table. She looked up to see a woman with bright eyes and an even brighter smile standing beside her. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but I couldn't help noticing that book," the stranger said, pointing to Lisa's novel. "I just finished reading it last week. It's incredible, isn't it?" Lisa blinked, momentarily surprised. People rarely approached her in public, and she wasn't used to strangers starting conversations. But there was something warm and genuine about this woman's energy that made Lisa feel comfortable enough to respond. "Oh, I just started it," Lisa said, closing the book slightly. "No spoilers, please." The woman laughed, a sound that seemed to fill the entire corner of the bookstore. "Trust me, I would never ruin a good mystery for someone. Mind if I sit for just a minute? I promise I won't give anything away." Before Lisa could really process what was happening, the woman had pulled out the chair across from her and settled, and she introduced herself as Amy, and within moments they were deep in conversation about books, authors, and the best mystery novels they'd ever read. What struck Lisa most was how easy it felt to talk to Amy. Usually, Lisa was careful with her words, especially with people she didn't know. She tended to keep conversations light and surface level, sharing just enough to be polite without revealing too much about herself. But Amy had a way of asking questions that made Lisa want to open up. "So what drew you to mystery novels?" Amy asked, leaning forward with genuine curiosity. "I mean, some people love romance, others prefer fantasy, but mysteries, there's something special about wanting to solve puzzles, don't you think?" Lisa found herself thinking deeper than she normally would about such a casual question. "I guess I like that there's always an answer," she said slowly. "Even when everything seems confusing or unclear, you know that by the end, all the pieces will fit together." Amy's eyes lit up. "That's beautiful. You know, I think that says a lot about who you are as a person. You're someone who believes in resolution, in things making sense." The comment caught Lisa off guard. It was such a small observation, but it felt like Amy had seen something in her that most people missed. Lisa wasn't used to being understood so quickly, especially by someone she'd just met. Their conversation flowed from books to movies, from favorite coffee shops to childhood memories. Amy shared stories about growing up in a small town where everyone knew everyone's business and how she'd always dreamed of living in the city where she could disappear into coffee shops and bookstores just like this one. "What about you?" Amy asked. "Are you from around here originally?" Lisa hesitated for just a moment. She usually kept details about her background private, but something about Amy's open, interested expression made her want to share. "I moved here about 5 years ago," she said. "I needed a fresh start, you know? Sometimes you have to leave everything behind to figure out who you really are." Amy nodded knowingly. "I completely understand that feeling. It takes courage to start over, to build a new life somewhere completely different." Lisa felt a flutter of something she couldn't quite name. When was the last time someone had called her courageous? Most people in her life saw her as quiet, maybe even boring. But Amy seemed to see qualities in her that Lisa had forgotten she possessed. Time seemed to slip away as they talked. Lisa glanced at her watch and was shocked to realize they'd been sitting there for almost 2 hours. Her coffee had gone cold long ago and her book remained unopened on the table. "Oh wow, I can't believe how long we've been talking," Lisa said, feeling a mix of surprise and slight embarrassment. "I'm usually much more aware of time." Amy grinned. "The best conversations make you lose track of everything else, don't they? That's how you know you've connected with someone special." There was something in the way Amy said someone special that made Lisa's cheeks warm slightly. She wasn't used to being called special, especially not by someone who barely knew her. I should probably head home, Lisa said, though part of her didn't want the conversation to end. I have some things I need to take care of today. Amy's face fell just slightly, but she recovered quickly. Of course, I don't want to keep you from your plans, but Lisa, this has been wonderful. I feel like I could talk to you for hours more. Lisa began packing up her things, feeling oddly reluctant to leave. It was really nice meeting you, Amy. Thank you for such an interesting conversation. Actually, Amy said, standing up as well, I know this might sound forward, but would you like to meet up again tomorrow? Maybe we could grab lunch. I'd love to hear what you think of the book once you've read more. Lisa paused, her book halfway into her bag. Tomorrow? That seemed fast. She usually took weeks or even months to develop friendships, preferring to let relationships grow naturally over time. But there was something about Amy's enthusiasm that was both flattering and slightly overwhelming. Tomorrow is Sunday, Lisa said, trying to think of a gentle way to suggest they take things slower. Perfect. Sunday lunch is the best kind of lunch. No work stress, no rushing around. Just good food and good conversation, Amy said, her smile bright and hopeful. Lisa found herself nodding before she'd fully decided. Okay, sure. Where did you have in mind? Amy's face lit up with genuine joy. There's this amazing little cafe about 10 minutes from here. They have the best sandwiches and the quietest atmosphere. It's perfect for continuing our conversation. As they exchanged phone numbers and made plans, Lisa felt a strange mix of excitement and unease. She was flattered by Amy's interest in spending more time together, but something about the immediate intensity of their connection felt unfamiliar and slightly overwhelming. Walking home that afternoon, Lisa couldn't stop thinking about their encounter. Amy had been charming, interesting, and genuinely seemed to enjoy Lisa's company. But there was also something about the way Amy had looked at her, the way she'd hung onto every word Lisa said, that felt more intense than a typical new friendship. Still, Lisa reasoned with herself, maybe she was overthinking things. Maybe Amy was just naturally enthusiastic about meeting new people. Maybe Lisa had been alone for so long that she'd forgotten what it felt like when someone showed genuine interest in getting to know her. That night, as Lisa finally opened her mystery novel, she found herself distracted by thoughts of tomorrow's lunch. She was looking forward to seeing Amy again, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something about their connection had moved faster than felt completely comfortable. Little did Lisa know that this was just the beginning of a relationship that would challenge everything she thought she knew about friendship, boundaries, and her own ability to trust her instincts when something felt too intense, too fast. The Sunday lunch had gone better than Lisa expected. Amy was just as charming and interesting as she'd been the day before, and they'd spent 3 hours at the small cafe talking about everything from childhood memories to future dreams. When they finally parted ways, Lisa felt genuinely happy about making a new friend. That happiness lasted exactly until Monday morning when her phone buzzed with a text message at 6:30 in the morning. Good morning, sunshine. Hope you slept well. I couldn't stop thinking about our amazing conversation yesterday. You're such an incredible person, Lisa. Lisa stared at the message while brushing her teeth. It was sweet, she supposed, but 6:30 seemed awfully early for such an enthusiastic text. She decided to respond later, when she had more time to think of something appropriate to say back. By the time she finished her morning coffee, 3 more messages had arrived. I found the most beautiful poem this morning and it reminded me of you. You have such a gentle soul. Oh, and I saw a woman reading the same book you were reading yesterday. Made me smile thinking of you. Sorry if I'm texting too much. I'm just excited about our friendship. Lisa felt a small knot form in her stomach. 3 texts before 8 in the morning felt like a lot, especially from someone she'd only known for 2 days. But maybe Amy was just naturally expressive. Some people were more communicative than others, right? She sent back a simple, "Good morning, thanks for thinking of me," and headed off to work. hoping that would be enough to show she appreciated Amy's messages without encouraging too many more. It wasn't enough. Throughout her workday, Lisa's phone continued to buzz. Photos of flowers Amy saw on her morning walk, screenshots of articles she thought Lisa might find interesting, random thoughts about life, love, and the meaning of friendship. By lunchtime, Lisa had received 14 messages from Amy. When Lisa didn't respond to most of them due to being busy at work, Amy sent another message. "Everything okay? You seem quiet today. I hope I didn't say anything wrong yesterday." Lisa felt guilty immediately. She hadn't meant to ignore Amy. She'd just been focused on her job. She quickly typed back during her lunch break, "Sorry, just busy at work, everything's fine." Amy's response came back within seconds. "Oh, thank goodness. I was worried I'd scared you off somehow. You're too important to me already for that to happen." The phrase "too important to me already" stuck in Lisa's mind for the rest of the afternoon. They'd known each other for 3 days. How could someone become too important that quickly? When Lisa left work that evening, she found Amy waiting by her car in the parking lot. "Surprise," Amy said with a bright smile. "I thought maybe we could grab dinner together. I know this great little place just down the street." Lisa's first reaction was confusion. "How did you know where I work?" she asked, trying to keep her voice light despite feeling unsettled. Amy's cheeks turned slightly pink. "Oh, you mentioned the name of your company yesterday at lunch. I looked it up online and figured out which building it was. I hope that's okay. I just really wanted to see you again." Lisa stood there holding her car keys, not sure how to respond. Part of her was flattered that Amy had gone to the effort to find her workplace. But another part of her felt like this was moving too fast, becoming too intense too quickly. "That's thoughtful of you," Lisa said carefully. "But I actually have plans tonight. Maybe another time?" Amy's face fell dramatically. "Oh, of course you have plans. I should have called first. I'm such an idiot for just showing up like this." "You're not an idiot," Lisa said quickly, feeling bad for Amy's obvious disappointment. "I just wasn't expecting it, that's all." "What kind of plans?" Amy asked, brightening slightly. "Maybe I could join you? I love meeting new people." Lisa hesitated. Her plans were actually just going home to do laundry and watch a movie by herself. But something about Amy's immediate assumption that she could join whatever Lisa was doing felt presumptuous. "Just some quiet time at home," Lisa said. "You know how it is after a long work day," Amy nodded. But Lisa could see the disappointment in her eyes. "Of course, I totally understand. Rain check on dinner then?" "Sure," Lisa agreed, though she was starting to feel like she was making promises faster than she was comfortable with. Over the next few days, the pattern continued and intensified. Amy would text Lisa good morning messages that grew longer and more personal each day. She'd send photos of her meals, her walks, random things she saw that reminded her of Lisa. She'd share detailed stories about her childhood, her past relationships, her fears and dreams. The messages were always sweet and never inappropriate, but there were just so many of them. Lisa would wake up to 5 or 6 texts from Amy, receive a dozen more throughout her workday, and end each evening with several more waiting for her. When Lisa tried to keep her responses shorter and less frequent, Amy would send messages asking if everything was okay, if she'd done something wrong, if Lisa was upset with her. These messages made Lisa feel guilty, so she'd end up sending longer responses to reassure Amy that everything was fine. The breaking point came on Thursday when Amy showed up at Lisa's workplace again, this time with lunch for both of them. "Thought you might be hungry," Amy said, holding up a bag from Lisa's favorite sandwich shop. "And I know you mentioned you usually eat lunch alone, so I figured you might like some company." Lisa looked around the parking lot, aware that some of her co-workers might see them. She'd never mentioned Amy to anyone at work, and she wasn't sure how to explain who this person was or why she kept appearing at Lisa's job. "Amy, this is really sweet of you," Lisa said, "but I can't really take long lunch breaks. My schedule is pretty tight today." Amy's smile faltered. "Oh, well, maybe just a quick bite? I got your favorite sandwich. Turkey and avocado, right?" You mentioned it on Sunday. Lisa was surprised and slightly unnerved that Amy had remembered such a specific detail from their conversation 3 days ago. It showed Amy was paying very close attention to everything Lisa said, which was both flattering and overwhelming. "I appreciate this, I really do," Lisa said. "But I think it would be better if we planned these things ahead of time, so I can make sure I have time in my schedule." Amy's expression shifted to something Lisa couldn't quite read. Hurt, maybe, or confusion. "I just wanted to do something nice for you," Amy said quietly. I thought we were becoming close friends. Close friends do spontaneous things for each other, don't they?" Lisa felt that familiar knot in her stomach tighten. Amy wasn't wrong exactly. Close friends did sometimes surprise each other with lunch or show up unexpectedly. But Lisa and Amy had known each other for less than a week. Were they really close friends already, or was Amy pushing their relationship to move faster than it naturally would? "We are becoming friends," Lisa said carefully. "I just like to take things slowly, that's all. It's nothing personal." Amy nodded, but Lisa could see she was struggling with disappointment. "Of course. I understand. I sometimes get excited about new friendships and move too fast. My last friend told me the same thing. Something about the way Amy said my last friend made Lisa curious, but she didn't feel comfortable asking for details. That evening, Lisa sat in her apartment thinking about the week's events. Amy was clearly a good person with kind intentions. She was interesting, thoughtful, and genuinely seemed to care about Lisa's well-being. But something about the intensity of her attention felt overwhelming. Lisa had always been someone who valued her space and privacy. She liked having time to process her thoughts and feelings without constant input from others. Amy's constant communication and unexpected visits were making Lisa feel like she couldn't catch her breath. But whenever Lisa tried to pull back even slightly, Amy would become so apologetic and concerned that Lisa would end up feeling guilty for wanting space. It was becoming a cycle that left Lisa feeling confused about her own feelings and unsure how to handle the situation. As she got ready for bed that night, Lisa's phone buzzed with another message from Amy. "Sweet dreams, Lisa. Thank you for being patient with me today. You're the best friend I've had in years, and I don't want to mess this up." Lisa stared at the message for a long time before responding with a simple, "Good night." She was beginning to realize that what had started as an exciting new friendship was becoming something she wasn't sure how to handle. 2 weeks had passed since Lisa first met Amy, and what had started as an exciting new friendship was beginning to feel like something entirely different. Lisa found herself checking her phone with a mixture of anticipation and dread, never knowing if she'd find one message or 20 waiting for her. Amy*s texts had evolved from simple good morning wishes to lengthy, emotional messages about her day, her feelings, and increasingly, her problems. Every morning brought a new crisis that Amy needed to share with Lisa. Her boss was being unreasonable. Her landlord was threatening to raise her rent. Her family didn't understand her. Her other friends were too busy to listen. "You're the only person who really gets me, Lisa," had become Amy's regular refrain. "I don't know what I'd do without you to talk to about all this." At first, Lisa had felt honored to be trusted with such personal information. It meant Amy valued their friendship and felt comfortable opening up to her. But as the days went on, Lisa began to feel less like a friend and more like a personal counselor who was always on call. The phone calls had started during the second week. Where Amy had previously limited herself to text messages, she now called Lisa multiple times throughout the day. The first call would usually come around 8 in the morning, just as Lisa was getting ready for work. "I'm sorry to call so early," Amy would say, "but I had such a weird dream last night and I really needed to talk to someone about it." Or, "I'm having such anxiety about my presentation today. Can you just talk to me for a few minutes to help calm me down?" Or, "I know you're probably busy, but something happened with my sister, and I'm really upset. Do you have time to listen?" Lisa found it nearly impossible to say no to these requests. Amy always sounded so genuinely distressed, and she never asked for much time. "Just a few minutes," she would say. "Just enough to feel better." But those few minutes often stretched into 30 or 40 minutes, making Lisa late for work or cutting into her evening plans. What bothered Lisa most was that Amy seemed to have forgotten about everyone else in her life. In their early conversations, Amy had mentioned other friends, co-workers, even a sister she was close to. But now, whenever Amy had a problem or needed support, Lisa was the only person she called. "What about your sister?" Lisa had asked during one particularly long phone call about Amy's work stress. "Didn't you say she was really good at giving advice about career stuff?" Amy had gone quiet for a moment. "She's been really busy lately. Besides, she doesn't understand me the way you do." "You actually listen, Lisa. You care about what I'm going through." Lisa felt that familiar mixture of flattery and discomfort. She did care about Amy's well-being, but she was starting to feel like caring meant being available every time Amy needed emotional support, which seemed to be constantly. The situation got worse when Amy started showing up at Lisa's apartment, unannounced. The first time, Amy claimed she'd been in the neighborhood and thought she'd stop by to say hello. Lisa, caught off guard and still in her pajamas on a Saturday morning, had let Amy in for coffee. "Your place is so cozy," Amy had said, looking around Lisa's small living room like she was memorizing every detail. "It feels so peaceful here. So safe." Lisa had made coffee, and they'd chatted for about an hour before Amy finally left. It hadn't been unpleasant exactly, but Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that her personal space had been invaded without permission. The visits became more frequent. Amy would text from Lisa's parking lot, "I'm outside if you're free," or "Brought you some of those cookies you mentioned liking." Lisa felt trapped between her desire to maintain boundaries and her fear of hurting Amy's feelings by turning her away. The worst part was that Amy seemed to have no awareness of how overwhelming her behavior was becoming. When Lisa tried to gently suggest that maybe Amy should call before coming over, Amy looked genuinely confused. "But I thought we were close friends now," Amy had said. "Close friends don't need formal invitations to see each other. That's what makes friendship special, isn't it? Being able to be spontaneous and natural with each other." Lisa couldn't argue with the logic, but something still felt wrong about it. She'd had close friendships before, and while spontaneous visits did happen occasionally, they weren't a daily occurrence. Most of her friends respected the fact that people had their own lives, schedules, and need for personal time. But Amy seemed to see Lisa's need for alone time as a rejection of their friendship. Whenever Lisa mentioned being tired or wanting to stay home for the evening, Amy would become concerned. "Are you okay? You've seemed distant lately. Did I do something wrong?" Lisa found herself constantly reassuring Amy that everything was fine, even when it wasn't. She was exhausted from the constant communication, stressed about the unpredictable visits, and frustrated by her inability to express these concerns without making Amy upset. Her other relationships were starting to suffer too. Lisa's friend Rachel had called twice in the past week, and Lisa had missed both calls because she was on the phone with Amy, dealing with whatever crisis had come up that day. When Lisa finally called Rachel back, she'd had to cut the conversation short because Amy was texting her about needing to talk urgently. "You seem distracted lately," Rachel had observed. "Everything okay with you?" Lisa had wanted to explain about Amy, but she wasn't sure how to describe the situation without sounding ungrateful or mean. Amy wasn't doing anything obviously wrong. She was just being a very attentive, very needy friend. How could Lisa complain about someone caring too much about her? The breaking point came on a Thursday evening when Lisa had made plans to go to dinner with her coworker Janet. They'd been planning this dinner for weeks, and Lisa had been looking forward to it all day. Just as she was getting ready to leave, her phone rang. "Lisa, thank goodness you answered." Amy's voice was shaky and upset. "I just had the worst fight with my boss, and I think he might fire me. I'm sitting in my car in the parking lot, and I can't stop crying. Can you talk to me? I really need you right now." Lisa looked at herself in the mirror, already dressed and ready to leave for dinner. "Amy, I'm so sorry this happened to you, but I actually have dinner plans tonight that I can't cancel. Can we talk when I get home later?" There was silence on the other end of the line, and then Amy started crying harder. "I can't believe this is happening," Amy sobbed. First my boss treats me terribly, and now my best friend doesn't have time for me when I need her most. I feel so alone, Lisa. I don't have anyone else to call. Lisa felt her resolve crumble. Amy was genuinely distressed, and Lisa was apparently the only person in her life who could help. How could she prioritize a casual dinner over her friend's crisis? Okay, Lisa heard herself saying. Let me call Janet and reschedule. Where are you? Do you want me to come meet you? Amy's relief was immediate and overwhelming. Oh, Lisa, thank you so much. You're such an amazing friend. I knew I could count on you. As Lisa called Janet to cancel their dinner plans, she felt a deep sense of resentment building in her chest. This was the third time in 2 weeks she'd had to change her plans because of Amy's emergencies. Janet was understanding, but Lisa could hear the disappointment in her voice. 2 hours later, after listening to Amy rehash every detail of her workplace drama and reassuring her that she probably wasn't going to get fired, Lisa finally made it home. She was emotionally drained and angry with herself for giving in so easily to Amy's demands. That night, Lisa lay in bed thinking about how much her life had changed in just 2 weeks. She used to look forward to quiet evenings at home, to dinner with friends, to lazy weekend mornings. Now every moment felt like it could be interrupted by Amy's needs, Amy's crises, Amy's desire for connection. Lisa realized she'd been walking on eggshells around Amy, afraid that any sign of unavailability or disinterest would trigger an emotional response that Lisa would then feel responsible for managing. She'd become so focused on protecting Amy's feelings that she'd stopped protecting her own. The scariest part was how normal this had started to feel. Lisa was beginning to accept that being Amy's friend meant being constantly available, constantly supportive, constantly putting Amy's emotional needs before her own plans and preferences. But as she drifted off to sleep that night, Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that something was very, very wrong with this picture. She just didn't know how to fix it without risking the kind of emotional scene from Amy that had become Lisa's greatest fear. 3 weeks into their friendship, Lisa was barely recognizing her own life. Every morning started with multiple messages from Amy. Every lunch break was interrupted by urgent phone calls, and every evening was spent either talking Amy through her latest crisis or feeling guilty about not being available enough. Lisa Quota's family had started to notice the change in her. During her weekly phone call with her mother, Lisa found herself distracted and constantly checking her phone for messages from Amy. You seem stressed lately, honey, her mother had said. Everything okay at work? Lisa had wanted to explain about Amy, but she didn't know how to put it into words that wouldn't make her sound ungrateful or mean. How do you tell someone that your new friend cares too much? That someone's attention and affection has become overwhelming? Just busy, Lisa had said, which wasn't entirely untrue. The situation reached a new level of intensity when Amy announced she was looking for a new apartment. Lisa was having coffee with Amy on a Saturday morning when Amy brought up the topic, with obvious excitement. I've been thinking about what you said about fresh starts, Amy said, stirring her coffee with unusual energy. Remember when you told me about moving here 5 years ago to start over? Well, I think I need my own fresh start. Lisa nodded, thinking this might actually be good news. Maybe Amy would move to a different part of the city, giving them both some natural space to breathe. That sounds like a good idea, Lisa said. Where are you thinking of looking? Amy's smile grew wider. Well, actually, I was hoping you could help me with that. You know this neighborhood so well, and you've mentioned how much you love living here. I thought maybe I could find something nearby. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. Nearby could mean a lot of things, but something about Amy's expression suggested she had something very specific in mind. How nearby? Lisa asked carefully. Amy reached into her purse and pulled out a folded piece of paper. I've been looking at listings and I found this perfect little place. It's only 3 blocks from your apartment. Can you believe the coincidence? Lisa stared at the apartment listing Amy had printed out. It wasn't a coincidence at all. Amy had clearly searched for apartments specifically in Lisa's neighborhood, maybe even on Lisa's exact street. 3 blocks is very close, Lisa said, trying to keep her voice neutral. I know. Isn't it wonderful? Amy's excitement was unmistakable. We could see each other all the time without having to plan it. I could walk over for coffee in the mornings, or we could take evening walks together. It would be like having a built-in best friend right in the neighborhood. Lisa felt panic rising in her chest. The thought of Amy living 3 blocks away, with easy access to drop by any time she wanted, was terrifying. Lisa already felt like she had no privacy or personal space in their friendship. Having Amy as a neighbor would eliminate the last barriers between them. "Amy," Lisa said slowly, "don't you think that might be a little intense? I mean, we've only known each other for a few weeks." Amy's face fell immediately. "Intense? What do you mean?" Lisa could see the hurt in Amy's eyes, but she also knew this was her chance to finally be honest about her concerns. "I just think that moving somewhere specifically to be near someone you just met might not be the best decision. What if things change between us? What if we need some space?" "Why would things change?" Amy asked, her voice getting smaller. "And why would we need space? I thought we were best friends now." Lisa felt trapped. Amy was looking at her with such genuine confusion and pain that Lisa wanted to take back everything she'd just said. But she also knew that if she didn't speak up now, Amy would move to her neighborhood and Lisa would never have any privacy again. "We are friends," Lisa said carefully. "But healthy friendships need room to breathe. People need their own space, their own lives outside of the friendship." Amy was quiet for a long moment, stirring her coffee absently. When she looked up again, her eyes were watery. "I can't believe you don't want me to live near you," she said quietly. "I thought you cared about me. I thought you enjoyed spending time with me." "I do care about you," Lisa said quickly. "This isn't about not wanting to spend time with you. It's about maintaining healthy boundaries." "Boundaries?" Amy repeated the word like it was foreign to her. "What kind of boundaries do you need from me?" Lisa realized this was the moment she'd been avoiding for weeks. She could either continue to enable Amy's overwhelming behavior, or she could finally be honest about how suffocating their friendship had become. "Amy, in the past 3 weeks, you've texted me every single morning, called me multiple times every day, and shown up at my apartment or workplace without calling first. You've made me cancel plans with other friends multiple times, and you've made me feel guilty whenever I'm not immediately available to talk." Amy stared at her with wide eyes. "I didn't realize. I was just being a good friend. I thought that's what friends do for each other." "Good friends do support each other," Lisa agreed, "but they also respect each other's time and space. They have other people in their lives besides just one friend." "But you're not just any friend to me," Amy said, tears starting to fall. "You're my best friend. You're the most important person in my life right now." The phrase "most important person in my life" hit Lisa like a punch to the stomach. They'd known each other for 3 weeks. How had she become the most important person in Amy's life so quickly? "Amy, that's exactly what I'm talking about," Lisa said gently. "We barely know each other. 3 weeks isn't enough time to build the kind of friendship you're describing." Amy's tears were flowing freely now. "So you're saying you don't care about me as much as I care about you?" Lisa felt that familiar guilt rising in her chest, but this time she fought against it. "I'm saying that the level of intensity in our friendship feels unhealthy to me. It feels like too much, too fast." Amy was quiet for several minutes, crying into her coffee cup. Lisa sat there feeling terrible but also relieved to have finally said what she'd been thinking for weeks. "I don't understand," Amy finally said. "My last best friend said the same thing to me. She said I was too intense, too needy. But I thought you were different. I thought you understood me." Lisa's heart sank. Amy had been through this exact same situation before with someone else, and she apparently hadn't learned anything from that experience. "What happened with your last friend?" Lisa asked. Amy wiped her eyes with her napkin. "She said she needed space. She said I was calling too much and expecting too much from her. So she cut me off completely. One day we were best friends, and the next day she wouldn't even return my calls." Lisa could suddenly see the pattern clearly. Amy formed intense, overwhelming attachments quickly, and when people tried to set boundaries, she saw it as rejection. Then she would move on to the next person and repeat the same behavior. Amy, Lisa said gently, maybe the problem isn't that you keep finding the wrong friends. Maybe the problem is how quickly you try to make relationships so intense. Amy looked at Lisa like she'd been slapped. Are you saying it's my fault that people abandon me? I'm saying that maybe you could benefit from talking to someone professional about your friendship patterns. This level of intensity isn't normal or healthy. Amy stood up abruptly, knocking over her coffee cup in the process. I can't believe this. First my ex-friend rejects me, and now you're doing the same thing, and you're trying to make it seem like I'm the problem. Amy, please sit down. I'm not rejecting you. I'm trying to help you understand. No, Amy interrupted, her voice getting louder. You're just like everyone else. You make me think you care about me, and then you decide I'm too much trouble. People in the coffee shop were starting to stare. Lisa felt her face burning with embarrassment as Amy continued to speak loudly through her tears. I thought you were different, Lisa. I thought you actually understood what real friendship looks like. But you're just another person who wants to keep me at arm's length. Amy grabbed her purse and headed for the door, but turned around before leaving. And if you don't want me living in your neighborhood, don't worry. I'll make sure to find somewhere far away from you. I wouldn't want to make you uncomfortable with my presence. After Amy left, Lisa sat in the coffee shop for another hour, trying to process what had just happened. She felt terrible about hurting Amy's feelings, but she also felt a strange sense of relief. For the first time in weeks, her phone wasn't buzzing with messages. For the first time in weeks, she wasn't worried about when Amy might show up unannounced. But she also knew this wasn't over. Amy's reaction had been so extreme, so emotional, that Lisa suspected this was just the beginning of whatever came next. Amy had shown her true colors today, and Lisa was finally beginning to understand that their friendship had never been about mutual respect and care. It had been about Amy's need to completely consume someone else's life and attention. And when Lisa had tried to maintain even the smallest boundaries, Amy had turned it into a dramatic scene of abandonment and rejection. As Lisa walked home that afternoon, she realized she felt lighter than she had in weeks, but she also felt scared about what Amy might do next. The silence lasted exactly 12 hours. Lisa had gone to bed that Saturday night, feeling emotionally drained but oddly peaceful. For the first time in weeks, she'd fallen asleep without her phone buzzing constantly with messages from Amy. She'd slept deeply and woken up Sunday morning feeling more rested than she had since their friendship began. But at exactly 8:30 in the morning, the messages started again. Lisa, I'm so sorry about yesterday. I was just hurt and I overreacted. Can we please talk? I've been up all night thinking about what you said, and you're right. I do get too attached too quickly. I want to work on that. Please don't give up on our friendship. You mean everything to me. Lisa stared at the messages, feeling that familiar knot in her stomach return. Part of her felt relief that Amy was apologizing and seemingly willing to change, but another part of her recognized this pattern from her past relationships: the dramatic outburst followed by the tearful apology, followed by promises to do better that never actually led to lasting change. Over the next few days, Amy's messages continued. She sent long, thoughtful texts about friendship and boundaries. She shared articles about healthy relationships that she'd found online. She promised to give Lisa more space and to check before calling or visiting. For a few days, it actually seemed like Amy was keeping her word. The constant phone calls stopped. The surprise visits ended. Amy's texts became less frequent and more thoughtful. Lisa began to hope that maybe their confrontation had actually helped. Maybe Amy really was capable of change. Maybe they could salvage their friendship after all. But on Thursday afternoon, Lisa received a message that changed everything. Lisa, I need to tell you something important. I've been thinking about our conversation, and I realize that I might hurt myself if I lose our friendship. You're the only person who understands me, and I don't know how I'd cope without you in my life. Lisa read the message 3 times, her hands shaking slightly. Amy was threatening to hurt herself if Lisa didn't continue their friendship. This wasn't an apology or a promise to do better. This was emotional blackmail. Lisa had heard about this kind of manipulation before, but she'd never experienced it directly. The message was designed to make Lisa feel responsible for Amy's well-being, to make her feel like she couldn't set boundaries without potentially causing Amy serious harm. That evening, Lisa called her sister Jennifer for the first time in weeks. She'd been so consumed with managing Amy's needs that she'd neglected her family relationships. "Jen, I need some advice about a situation I'm dealing with," Lisa said. After they'd caught up on family news, Lisa explained the entire situation with Amy. From their first meeting at the bookstore to the most recent message about self-harm, Jennifer listened without interrupting, asking occasional questions for clarification. "Lisa," Jennifer said when she finished, "this person is manipulating you. What she's doing isn't friendship, it's control." "But she seems so genuine when she talks about caring about me," Lisa said, "and she really does seem lonely and in need of support." "I'm sure she is lonely," Jennifer agreed, "but that doesn't make her behavior your responsibility. Think about it this way. Have any of your other friends ever threatened to hurt themselves when you needed space?" Lisa thought about her friendships with Rachel, Janet, and her other close friends. None of them had ever made her feel guilty for having other plans or needing alone time. None of them had ever suggested that their well-being depended entirely on her availability. "No," Lisa said quietly. "That's because healthy people don't use threats of self-harm to control their relationships," Jennifer said firmly. "Lisa, this woman needs professional help, not more enabling from you." After talking with her sister, Lisa felt clearer about the situation than she had in weeks. She realized that she'd been so focused on not hurting Amy's feelings that she'd allowed her own feelings and needs to be completely ignored. The next day, Lisa made 2 important phone calls. First, she called the Employee Assistance Program at her work and asked about counseling services. She knew she needed professional help to understand why she'd allowed herself to be manipulated for so long and to learn how to set better boundaries in the future. Second, she called her friend Rachel and apologized for being so unavailable over the past month. "I was wondering what happened to you," Rachel said. "You seemed to disappear from your own life there for a while." Lisa explained about Amy and the situation she'd found herself in. Rachel listened with growing concern. "Lisa, that sounds terrifying," Rachel said. "You know that none of that was normal friend behavior, right?" "I'm starting to understand that now," Lisa admitted. "I think I got so caught up in feeling special and needed that I ignored all the red flags." "What are you going to do about the situation now?" Lisa had been thinking about this question all night. "I think I need to end the friendship completely. Every time I try to set boundaries, she finds a way to make me feel guilty or responsible for her emotions, and now she's threatening to hurt herself if I don't stay friends with her." "That's not a friendship, Lisa, that's hostage-taking." With Rachel's support and the appointment she'd made with a counselor for the following week, Lisa decided to write Amy a clear, firm message ending their friendship. She spent hours crafting the message, trying to be both kind and completely unambiguous about her decision. "Amy, I've thought carefully about our friendship and I've realized that it's not healthy for either of us. The level of intensity and the emotional pressure I've felt over the past month has been overwhelming for me. I think you would benefit from talking to a professional counselor about your relationship patterns, and I know I need to work on my own boundaries. I won't be continuing our friendship, and I ask that you please respect my decision by not contacting me again. I wish you well, but I need you to leave me alone from now on." Lisa read the message 10 times before sending it. Her hands were shaking as she hit send, but she also felt a tremendous sense of relief. Amy's response came within minutes, and it was exactly what Lisa had expected. "Lisa, please don't do this. I promise I can change. I'll give you all the space you need. I won't call or text unless you contact me first. Just please don't abandon me like everyone else has." Then came a flood of messages. Apologies, promises, memories of good times they'd shared, and increasingly desperate pleas for Lisa to reconsider. Lisa turned off her phone and went for a long walk. When she came back an hour later, she had 17 new messages from Amy. Following the advice she'd read online about ending manipulative relationships, Lisa blocked Amy's phone number without reading the messages. She also blocked Amy on all social media platforms and asked her building security to not allow Amy access to the building without calling up first. The next few days were difficult. Lisa felt guilty, worried, and constantly anxious about whether she'd made the right decision. The counselor she met with that week assured her that she had handled the situation appropriately and that Amy's behavior had indeed been manipulative and unhealthy. People who threaten self-harm to control relationships are using one of the most powerful manipulation tactics there is, the counselor explained. It's designed to make you feel like you're responsible for their well-being, when in reality, each person is responsible for their own mental health. 2 weeks after Lisa had blocked Amy's number, Amy showed up at Lisa's workplace. Lisa saw her through the office window, pacing in the parking lot and looking agitated. Lisa asked her supervisor if she could leave work early, and she called building security to escort her to her car. Amy approached as soon as she saw Lisa, but the security guard stepped between them. "Lisa, please just talk to me for 5 minutes. Amy called out. "I just need to understand what I did wrong. I can fix this if you'll just give me another chance." "Ma'am, you need to leave the property," the security guard said firmly. Lisa got in her car without saying anything to Amy, though she could see Amy crying and shouting something as she drove away. That incident convinced Lisa to file a formal complaint with her company's human resources department and to document the harassment in case she needed to involve the police later. Over the following month, Amy tried several more times to contact Lisa. She sent messages through mutual acquaintances, left handwritten letters at Lisa's apartment building, and even created new social media accounts to try to reach her online. Each time, Lisa documented the contact and blocked the new accounts. She never responded to any of Amy's attempts at communication, knowing that even a single response would likely encourage Amy to keep trying. Gradually, the attempts at contact became less frequent. Lisa's counselor helped her understand that she had been vulnerable to Amy's manipulation because of her own people-pleasing tendencies and fear of conflict. You were so afraid of being mean or disappointing someone that you allowed your own needs to be completely ignored, the counselor explained. Learning to set boundaries isn't mean, it's healthy and necessary. 6 months later, Lisa reflected on the experience during one of her final counseling sessions. She'd learned to trust her instincts when something felt wrong in a relationship. She'd developed the confidence to say no without feeling guilty. Most importantly, she'd learned the difference between someone who cares about you and someone who needs to control you.